Hey, Philosophy 103 Section 2 folks. I hope that this finds you well, and happy Friday. I am recording this video on Tuesday, January 7th in prep for Friday, January 10th, because unfortunately I had a scheduling conflict and I have to miss class today, which I am not stoked for. I don't like getting off and out of this semester on this foot, but nevertheless, have to find a little bit of balance. So hopefully this video is a nice little supplemental material to kind of keep those philosophical energies going, or at least start those philosophical energies, and we will continue them on Monday, January 13th. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, January 13th. So again, welcome to the class. Welcome to philosophy. I'm excited to spend the next 15 weeks with you all. I'm excited to dive in more deeply to the material. And essentially what we would have done in class today, which I will carry over and I will do in class on Monday, is I'll try to create a space by which we can investigate and dive into the topic of philosophy. Okay? So asking some pretty, I think, worthwhile questions, right? What is philosophy? What's the point of philosophy? What does the discipline of philosophy do? Additionally, what are the roles of philosophers, right? Is it just to teach, or is there something more? Think a little bit about how you maybe use the word. Think a little bit about how you maybe use the word, right? Or like when you hear the word being used, right? So you might hear, oh, her teaching philosophy is fill in the blank. Or her coaching philosophy is very defensively minded, right? What might that use of the word indicate about the discipline more broadly, right? And so as we dive in and as we kind of get these, again, gears churning, and as we get these philosophical, trains running down these philosophical tracks, these are questions that I want us to have kind of at the forefront of our mind, right? Like, what is philosophy? What is the point of philosophy? What's the role of it even in contemporary society in 2025? Because I know that probably many of you are like, well, this is an old, it's an old discipline, right? Like, this doesn't matter anymore. Just give me a hammer or give me a shovel and I'll do some work and make some money. I don't know, right? Philosophy doesn't matter, right? Like, that's clearly a stereotype. That's clearly kind of a feeling or an attitude about philosophy, that it's not practical, that it's not worthwhile, that it doesn't really have any impact in society in 2025, right? But it's my goal for the next, again, 15 weeks to show you that, in fact, philosophy is important. That philosophy is indeed practical. That philosophy can, in fact, improve your life on a personal standpoint, on a professional standpoint, right? And hopefully kind of help you move and navigate through the world in a more effective, thoughtful, insightful, and intentional manner, okay? And as we kind of start to dive into, and as we start to kind of get familiar with what philosophy is, right, I will continuously talk about how this matters in 2025, how this continuously matters in how we move through the world, right? And what we think about ourselves, and what we think about society, and what we think about culture, and what we think about our possibilities, our limitations, right? All of that, in some capacity or another, is philosophical, okay? So, again, starting today asking, well, what is philosophy, right? What's the role? What's the point? What does it do? What can it do, right? And how does it function, right? What's the important focus here for philosophy, okay? And frankly, I don't really have all the answers, right? I've been teaching this class for a long time, 13 years, okay? And every semester, and this is what's wild, is every semester there's a new take, there's a new way of thinking, there's a new outlook on maybe what philosophy can do, what philosophy has done, and what philosophy can contribute to, okay? And one thing that I like to bring up, and again, I'll probably repeat this on Monday, but one thing that I like to bring up, especially as it relates to what philosophy is, or at least the importance of philosophy, is bringing your attention to kind of in the academic world, in the university world, okay? You might be familiar with the PhD, right? You might be familiar with one earning a PhD. Well, a PhD, so capital P, lowercase h, capital D, okay? A PhD The D stands for doctorate, and the PH stands for philosophy. Okay? So whenever somebody receives a PhD, okay, in computer science, or in mechanical engineering, or in biology, or in architecture, okay, one is receiving a doctorate in philosophy of computer science, mechanical engineering, biology, architecture, right? And one thing that I think is pretty cool about bringing this to your attention, if you didn't know, is the fact that, again, what this does from a college standpoint, from a university standpoint, from an academic standpoint, it points to the importance, the longevity, and the kind of like way that all disciplines, like whatever you're majoring in, even if it feels really far away from what you think philosophy is, right? And that's why I led off with computer science, right? Something that seems so far off from philosophy. Why I kind of also indicated mechanical engineering and biology, two subjects that maybe seem so far away from philosophy, right? But in fact, in academia, in college, in universities, there's a reference to the fact that philosophy is the bedrock discipline of all disciplines. Okay? The philosophy was the first kind of real area of study for everything else. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. Okay? Right? Like this idea that you get a PhD in computer science, you get a doctorate in philosophy of computer science. Okay? What does that tell us? What you're trying to do is you're trying to understand, know, move through the world in relation to engaging with computer science on a more intentional, focused, thoughtful level. That you are in fact doing philosophy of and with computer science, right? Because again, at the bottom of everything, philosophy is this discipline by which we try to know ourselves better and we try to know the world better. And isn't that in some wild way what you're doing with whatever it is you're majoring in, right? You're trying to know yourself better, your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, your proclivities, your intellect, right? So that's all philosophical. And you're trying to move through the world in a particular way and given reference to your strengths, to kind of what you're interested in. And that's undoubtedly philosophical, right? So I like to bring up the fact that, again, a PhD is a doctorate in philosophy of fill in the blank, okay? Cybersecurity, right? Business. A PhD in business is a doctorate in philosophy of business, right? If one gets a PhD in philosophy, it is a doctorate of philosophy in philosophy, right? So again, I bring all of that up just to showcase and reference the fact that what we're doing in here with philosophy as a discipline still very much is connected to all other disciplines, and frankly, is what all disciplines are born out of, right? And there are some fields of study that are definitely more closely related to the subject of philosophy. So like psychology definitely came from philosophy. So if you're a psych major, I would encourage you to double major in philosophy and psych. History has a lot of overlap, right? Communication, education, okay? Kind of more of those liberal arts studies definitely have more connections to philosophy. But even if you are in a hard science or if you're in a STEM major, if you're in a STEM career path, you're still doing philosophy. Because you're gonna be thinking about how you develop, thinking about how you move through the world, and how your skills, again, impact the world. And that's undoubtedly philosophical. Okay? So I'm gonna pause here, then I'm gonna move to the next video of just two quick little subjects, or maybe just one, to again keep those philosophical gears churning, and then we'll meet again on Monday. Cool? Cool.